Good morning. This is the Symposium of Life with Lonnie Clark and Thomas Ackermann, Mhairead MacDonald, and Ed Oz. We are all, four of us, are anti-nuke activists, citizen journalists who have made it our mission to really figure out how do we move the populace into caring about the planet. And today's discussion on the Symposium for Life is going to be, what does it mean to be a real human being? So with that question, let me open this question up to Mhairead. Mhairead, why don't we bring you in? And if you want to share a bit about yourself, you can. If not, just answer the question and bring us into this.
Okay, that's it's a nice small question. Not.
I'm good at little questions, Mhairead.
Right. I think what it means is varies as you get older, changes as you get older as well a lot, because I think your perception about yourself is completely different in your 20s to your 30s, 40s, 50s. And I mean, I've noticed that as I've got older. For some reason, I on a gut level was anti-nuclear at quite a young age, without really understanding completely the technology, but there was enough there information-wise for me to feel a deep abhorrence towards it. I mean, what does it mean to be a real human being? I was thinking about it this morning, how would I answer that? And to be honest, I don't actually know how to answer that question because it's incredibly subjective. It is a process. And to have, I mean, you could maybe add to that, what does it mean to be a human being with a conscience? What does it mean to be a human being with intuition and with awareness and with intelligence? Because, you know, otherwise you're a zombie and you're just looking at your flat screen television all day long or whatever. And that's a choice that people make, you know. For me, it's quite hard work being on this planet and getting up every day and just, you know, even before the whole Fukushima thing, it's difficult for me to understand why people can, how people can just accept the level of suffering that, you know, is occurring and increasing, you know, on planet Earth. So, you know, I just find it very challenging to think in terms of I don't know. I honestly don't know how to answer it. It's such a complex experience, and it's like saying, well, what isn't a human being? You know? I mean, how do you answer that? You know, what is a human being? Some people believe in a soul, some people don't. I mean, and it becomes incredibly philosophical. But I think if you have any kind of level of awareness, especially now. 2016, we're just starting another year. It's hard and it's very hard work, and you know we know quite a lot because we have had our perspective changed from what we've learned and what we've read. But for somebody listening to this and thinking to themselves, you know, what on earth is this about? Who doesn't know anything about Fukushima? You know, what does it mean to them to be experiencing life on a planet that has now been extremely heavily poisoned via radiation, and it's continuing and increasing, coupled in with everything else that's going on as well. So I don't know if that answers your question or just makes it sound even more confusing. I don't know.
Well, it's kind of sad where we're at on this planet where that's even having to be a question. Ackermann, you and I were talking a little bit this morning about what your friends were saying, how the United States is really the biggest self-promoter that there really is. It's really unbelievable, actually, you know, when we think about it. I mean, what do you think of this, Ackermann, the idea of being a real human being, what that means?
Well, do you mind if I adjust the question a little bit?
Sure, please do.
What I'm thinking is, what does it mean to be a true human being in the age of fission? I think this needs to be added because we're in an age that is so completely contrary to existence I mean, you've had the Stone Age and the Iron Age and even the Enlightenment. You know, what has the Enlightenment brought us? That's what I say quite often. You know, I love art and paintings and brilliant writers, and we're still stuck in the muck. We're facing down now the greatest destruction ever in the history of our existence, I believe. And what does it mean to be alive now in the age of fission? And my thought about being a human being now with such adversity, we're facing such incredible adversity. It doesn't mean that people weren't suffering and in pain and having to deal with stuff in the past, epidemics and cholera and you name it, but this is so monumental. When I think about this, when I wake up and we're facing down the most difficult period, I think, in our existence. I mean, you know, we always wait 50 years, 100 years down the road to understand our history, but I think this is very obvious to me. I don't need 50 years to realize we're up against it big time. So what am I required to do? This is my question. What is it that is required of me? If I'm a human being now, what is it that is like my inner, the deepest part of myself? How does that respond? And obviously we have to get rid of these nuclear plants all over our planet. I think this is a priority, but how do we get there? This is why, what does it mean to be alive now? How do we do that? We all personally need to answer that, I think. That's sort of the question. If I synopsized it, I want to say, what does it mean to be a human being in the age of fission? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that is the answer. I mean, this is the thing about this whole nuclear issue is like we are discovering on a daily basis how much more nuclear waste there really is. Like the curtain is being, no offense, Ed, but the curtain is being drawn back from Oz. You know what I mean? Like we're discovering in the land of Oz that it's really just this incredible mess that has been going on. It's an unbelievable mess. And that's the hard part, because I'll tell you what, yesterday I was at my daughter's house, and some of her friends from Walla Walla, Washington were there, and they're 75 miles from Hanford. And there was they said, well, you know, we're not anywhere near any nuclear waste, but it seems to be like this unconscious, like agreed upon thing that nobody talks about radiation. Nobody talks about the harm that it might really, really be causing so that we can go about our normalcy. So for me, the question is, being a human being, does that mean that normalcy is being human? We're ignoring the fact that we're being poisoned every day because they have no answers? I don't know. I mean, honestly, I have no idea what any of that means, but we're living in an unconscionable time. That's the hard part, is the crimes against humanity have already been perpetrated. You know, we're just discovering it. It's just the curtain is being drawn back. I mean, every single day now, we hear more. I mean, even your own country in Canada, Ackermann, you guys have pristine land, but I mean, honestly, if you look, this is one of the things that got Dana Durnford so pissed off and looking at the nuclear thing 8 or 9 years ago. Is all the uranium mining that's going on up there is leaving your land a wasteland of toxic stew, just like the United States, the uranium tailings.
Actually, you can buy a house in a place called Elliott Lake, which is a uranium town, for like $25,000 now. And they're selling it to senior citizens. They get them to retire there. Yeah.
Can I just interrupt? I know this isn't live, so it doesn't really matter, but Billy wants in. Can you add him, Thomas?
Oh, yeah.
Because you started the call,
I'll pull him in.
I told Billy to call Ackermann, but we'll see what he says.
Yeah, I don't know if he's there now.
No, I don't think he is, because he sent me a message. Both Patrick and Billy said that they will sit this one out.
No, he changed his mind. This is we're dealing with Scotsman.
Well, it's what's dealing with everybody who gets super busy. We've got kids and we're just super busy. It's like, really? No. It's just a little bit too much.
I see his Lorax, the Lorax guy. Are you there, Billy?
No, Billy's not here. You'd have to bring him in, Ackermann. So, no.
I'm here.
Oh, too loud. Too loud.
Sorry.
Step
Are
back
you
from
there,
your
Billy?
mic, Billy. Step back from your mic.
No, he's got his headset on, so he needs to adjust the microphone.
I'm here. Is that better now?
It's too loud.
Too
Just
loud.
move it away from your. It's really
Aye.
they're
I put-
sensitive. These microphones. Just kind of move it away from your mouth, or
put-
down, or up your
put it in another
nose,
room.
or.
Up your nose.
How's that one? How's that?
That's better.
I'll try and talk quietly.
No, you don't need to talk quietly because everyone won't be able to hear you. You just need to not have the microphone up
We're
here.
a
Up.
set of a motley crew here, aren't we? I tell
Who have we
you.
got tonight? Who have we got in the house tonight?
So we have Mhairead MacDonald, Thomas Ackermann, Lonnie Clark, and Ed Oz.
And
Ed,
now Billy
Ed's
Johnson.
here.
Yeah, Ed, are you still there?
I'm here.
Yeah, there you
Pleased
go.
to meet you, Ed. Pleased to meet you, Ed. We've met on
Hello.
on the ether.
Yeah. Ed and Billy have actually are friends on Facebook, so they have met through the internet and talked through the internet, but I don't think they've ever talked together. So, this whole thing, Ackermann was talking to me about how America is like the country of self-promotion. I think that has a lot to do with this, because one of the things that makes Trump so popular in this country, and I've heard this, in fact, I railed about it on my radio show Friday, was that people say, well, he's taking political correctness out of it. He's saying it like it is. And he is the biggest self-promoter that we have in the news media right now. Like, this guy has bankrupted 3 or 4 companies, done all kinds of things, and continues to call himself a really great American. He's talking hatred, spewing out hatred. Did any of you guys see what happened in his, one of his, he had a, what do you call those, Ed? He had a rally for his election, and there was thousands of people there, and a Muslim woman, he was railing about Muslims during his speech, so a Muslim woman just stood up silently. All she did was stand up. Her and another man who was Jewish stood up with her. They stood up together in this place. They threw her out, not him out. And she said nothing, and the whole crowd was like bullying her and booing her, and it was really a shameful act of bigotry. It was unbelievable. And in our news media, it's being played off as like these are the typical Trump supporters. And, this is what I mean. Those people aren't being human beings. They're forgetting their humanity completely.
I think Lonnie, and the answer to Thomas Ackermann's request, what it's like to be a human being right now, you've got to be a total selfish bastard, really, to be a human being. You have to be, and disregard every mortal other life form on this planet, because that's what we're doing. We're the only life form thriving, well, allegedly. All the other life forms...
No, that's not being a human being, that's being a psychopath.
Well,
Right.
that's most, but Mhairead, most of the human beings, through what they see on TV, what they read in the media, and what they're brainwashed with, will put bleach down their toilet, which is killing the water. They will do this, do that. They'll consume things, throw rubbish in the bin. They will buy things they don't need, and that's, in the act of doing that, they're destroying other animals and organisms on this planet. So, sorry about that, guys. But don't you see, we've been brainwashed into being psychopathic in our behaviour because we disregard other animals and organisms on this planet through our actions that we've been brainwashed into doing, and which we teach our kids to do. So there you go, that's my wee bit in the whole thing.
I'd like
Anybody argue with that one?
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, I understand what Billy is saying about what the actual humanity is acting like now, what we have turned into. But what is it that is required of us? And I'd like to get Ed sort of what he as a human being in the age of fission has figured out, yeah, and what is it that you feel that you're called to do? What is it that makes you?
Actually, you know, as I've gotten older, I kind of find the answer to that question to be simpler and simpler. To me, I see, and I come from a unique perspective because I have no children and actually have no relatives. To me, being a human being means pulling yourself out of your body and being part of the greater body of humanity. It means realizing that you are not an individual, you are a cell in a giant body working with millions and millions of other cells. And I have to comment on the video that Lonnie watched because I believe videos like that are part of the gaslighting.
Which video?
I believe much of that stuff is staged, and I believe it is to teach people that such behavior is acceptable.
What video are you talking about?
The Trump
The
one.
video of the Muslim
yeah.
woman and
Yeah.
the Trump thing. We
Yeah.
always have to step back from those things and go, are these real people or are these paid actors and actresses? Because as you know, I'm from Hollywood and from the movie industry, and I know any situation in life can have a paid actor or actress in it.
So you think that whole Trump thing was just part of the propaganda machine?
Well, I think it's to turn his followers even meaner. Yes,
Yeah.
I think it's to make what you call humanity and to throw it out the window and make it and show people that, see, it's acceptable to not be a human being. It's acceptable to, you know, to hate Muslims or hate whoever. Because in truth, people aren't like that. And I always offer up this example. Go look at any footage of a flood or any major disaster, and what are people doing? They're helping each other. Okay? People are driving into water, rescuing strangers they don't even know from Adam, and risking their lives, and that is real humans. We don't see this on the news. We see a very slim slice of exactly what they want to show us. And then we go, God, all these people are stupid. All these people are mean. No, they aren't. They aren't at all, because if you look at your everyday life and you look at people working down at the welfare centers and you look at people feeding the hungry, you find out that we're seeing a real skewed version of reality, in my opinion.
Well, you know, again,
Calling that human.
I think that, like, this whole thing about the idea about making all these people hateful, I think the number one objective, frankly, and this is why I always talk about the nuclear. I think it's to take our eye off of the ball of the environmental catastrophe that is everywhere. Like, the nuclear industry just really has destroyed the planet, and I really believe that more and more. Like, you know, somebody put up a video this morning going, where's the North Pole? You know, you can't find on the Google Maps, when you go to Google Maps and you look at the North Pole, there's no ice on the ice cap up there. And so if you go to other resources, you're trying to find the ice. There is no ice in the ice cap in the North Pole. They knew that, you know, they've known that that was going to happen in the summertime by 2015, and sure enough it has. And now it's part of the whole methane. I mean, to be honest, it's very overwhelming, all of the environmental catastrophes that we have going on right now. I mean, we are seriously in a place where we're ignoring destroying our planet.
Lonnie, can I read you a short story, actually only a couple of paragraphs I wrote yesterday. Billy is familiar with it because he put it on his site. That I actually convinced a total nuclear proponent yesterday to become anti-nuclear. So I'm very proud of it, because what I did is I took all of these complex issues that we're talking about and I distilled them into a short children's story to make the point.
Let's hear it.
It's
So
good.
if it's okay.
It's good.
Let's hear it. I like to hear it. Yeah.
Okay. It's called Our Village in the Magic Rocks, a cautionary tale. There was once a village of happy and industrious people that liked to invent and build new and better stuff to make their lives easier. When they would run into limitations on what they could build and invent, they were told that they needed more power by those who sold them power. One day a wizard came to the village and told them about some magical rocks he had found that they could use to boil water to make steam so that they could have more power. He told them these rocks could solve all of their problems. The villagers were so excited and dreamed of all the great stuff they could invent and build. We want those rocks, they said. What is the cost? The wizard looked at them and said, well, the cost is that a small percentage of you will die from cancer immediately, and as time goes on, a larger percent will die. And many of you will go sterile in the upcoming years. Some of your babies will be born with mutations and defects. Many of our animal friends are incompatible with the ways of these rocks. They will go extinct. And if you make one tiny error while using these rocks, if anything at all should go wrong, it will wipe out all life on your planet. Then the wizard got a twinkle in his eye and he said, but isn't that a small price to pay to boil more water? And this is what we need to constantly emphasize to people. It's not a nuclear plant, it's a pot that boils water. It's technology that is ancient, that goes back hundreds of years, that geothermal could create, that any other number of things can boil water besides creating 30,000-year waste.
You know what, Ed? Some people might call you a Luddite. My God.
The Luddites were right. That's a whole other subject. And but we have to, what I like is taking things and putting them into a very simple thing where people are saying, I mean, what rational person, if you take nuclear down to a story like this, can think that it is a rational way to proceed forward? We have to get out of this plant should go, and that plant is leaking, and those tanks are leaking, to all of this must stop. The whole damn concept is stupid, and it's got to stop. So I've had my rant.
No, I love that. That's a great children's story, and I think that children might have nightmares on that one. But
well, I'm working on more of them. Don't worry.
Oh, okay, all right. But you know, I'm thinking. You know, we're talking about this, and I know that yesterday I was talking. You know, we were talking Mhairead and personal relationships, people that are struggling to actually present us with this information. But, you know, when we were talking yesterday, and I'm not going to go into specifics, but just the fact, Mhairead, that we have great affection for people that are struggling and working on our behalf. And these are people that have sacrificed themselves. I think this is one thought I had after we talked yesterday, Mhairead, about the idea that people are sacrificing themselves. What it means to be a true human being at this time, it requires some kind of sacrifice, I think. It's not self-promotion. It's not rich. It's not gaining something. It's like a sacrifice that's required. And this is nothing new. I think that we all know that there is an element of being alive that requires us to give of ourselves. That's my philosophy anyway, rather than to take. And when we were talking yesterday, I thought about the fact that a person you know and I know somewhat as well has sacrificed themselves in order to give us some benefit. What does it mean to be a human being now, right? And you know what I'm talking about, Mhairead, when, you know, from yesterday?
Yeah.
That idea of sacrifice, doesn't that make sense? You know,
it doesn't, because you know, I'm not for saying, you know, the whole martyr thing and you know, spare the wood for the next person's cross kind of stuff. I'm not interested in that. But I think if people really want to make a change on this planet, then they're going to have to sacrifice a lifestyle that is not sustainable in terms of switching off and watching the television.
well, there you
I'm
go.
not talking about energy. I'm not even beginning to go into that. I'm talking about the fact that you cannot afford for your mind to be shaped by the media, as Ed was saying, about the fact that the reality that we're being shown is not true. We're being lied to over and over and over again. And if you have to own your own mind. You really have to work on what's between your ears and understand that your children are being subjected to far worse, and that the generations to come, not only if we survive, there'll be no nature. There'll be this dystopian world that they keep telling us via Hollywood is on its way. And we know that the technology is there. That is, when, I don't know if you remember when the whole Jade Helm thing was going on, there was a lot of stuff that deliberately was released to let people know that full spectrum dominance is not a fantasy. It's very, very real. And all of this technology that kids are embracing and literally sucking through a straw will be the greatest control mechanisms that mankind has ever seen. And that terrifies me even more than Fukushima, to be perfectly honest, because you could see the two things working in tandem. You know,
Well,
what
I
happened?
I think, Mhairead, they're getting ready for a world where there's very few people on the planet.
That's what I mean, because if you think about it, that's what will control the few that are left.
Yeah, yeah.
You
and
know,
and they'll be grateful for it too, because they'll recognize that without those systems that they couldn't really, I mean, when you're
Yeah.
getting to the point where where our future children will not have access to any clean water naturally, no
Yeah.
clean air naturally. I mean, we really are headed in that direction, although, you know, me being the eternal optimist, I think that I think that the world is going to revolt, and most of the I mean, I don't think the nuclear, I think that the uranium is going to be buried in the earthquakes. I think we're going to have massive, massive, massive problems. And, you know, most of the population will go away and a few humans will survive, and after that, humanity will elevate, and the thought of war will not even be on our consciousness for millions of years. That's what I'm hoping.
Are you
Lonnie,
That's the eternal optimist, you guys.
Lonnie's trying to scare us. Yeah, no.
Lonnie, we're not. It's not just human beings that are going to be wiped out. It's all life forms. How can talking about the sterilization of a planet that's ongoing right now?
Yeah.
That is insane. When you get your head around about that, that is what's ongoing.
Yes.
You know, it's insane, really. And do you see?
Well, the mammals are dropping off the cliff. Do you see that report in National Geographic? Mammals are dropping off the cliff in this 6th level extinction level event faster than any other previous extinctions. Mammals are just taking a nosedive hard right now.
Did you see, Lonnie, that video I put on your Facebook timeline about that girl on the St. Louis thing, the wee video the girl did? Did you see that at all? No.
Which one? I've seen several of them.
It was a girl, she was a wee speech in some kind of hearing for the St. Louis,
yeah.
I don't know, someone. No,
Why don't you explain it? That was quite touching. Why don't you explain that?
Well, the girl got up, and her mum's heavily involved in the whole. I don't know much about this. I'm over in Scotland, but just what I see on Facebook, really. But the young girl got up to the stand, and she gave about an 8-minute speech to whoever was running this meeting, and explained just about the predicament she is in for herself, her own health, her future children's health, and all the people around about her, down to this ongoing and escalating St. Louis scenario, where there's a fire burning in one half of the dump, and there's nuclear stuff in the other half of the dump, which one day are sooner going to meet. I don't know much about it. I'm far away over here. Then I saw last week about some massive rainfall over there, and the rain is just leaching out of these piles of waste that's been banked up with the soil. That can't be good, guys. But this girl got up and she did a great speech, and I was nearly in tears. It was powerful.
Well, that's exactly, those kinds of things are exactly why I decided I had to highlight the St. Louis plight on my radio show, because those people in St. Louis are beginning to wake up, but there's still, you know, there are people living within a mile of a nuclear dump site. You know, I mean, it is absolutely outrageous. You know?
I didn't think that was legal. I didn't think that was legal today. I mean, probably in the past, but surely it's not legal. Or is it? I don't know.
Well, the government are not putting their hands in the air and saying it's dangerous, are they? They're not.
No, but if you know, to have a populated area so close, I mean, a mile, that's nothing if something was to go wrong and is going wrong now. obviously, but but then, I'm throwing my hands up here. You can't see me because we're not on television, but with everything that's going on, the Los Angeles gas leak is a perfect example of how everybody runs around and nobody does anything. I mean, they're declaring a state of emergency, but are they going to evacuate those people? No.
Mhairead, no, I think Mhairead, I think people are so dumb in the world, and especially in America, that they think the government's going to sort it for them. Don't worry, the government will fix it. They'll sort it for us. Would that be true in saying that, these guys in America? Do you think people think that way?
Yeah, I think that they think that the government wouldn't let it be that bad if it was really that bad. It wouldn't. They really believe that it's not. If it was that bad, then the government would tell us, and they feel comforted. I mean, look, Libby Halevi lives, I think she told me 30 miles or 25 miles from that methane gas, and she said people out there really basically believe that. The government, at least they declared a state of emergency, so now funds can come in. But there's no conversation about remediating the people for their medical costs. There's no conversation about evacuating these people to a place that's safe. And personally, did you hear the story that the Navy has sent a letter to San Onofre nuclear dump site? They won't take the land back until they certify that it is nuclear free, that it's not contaminated. And according to the Navy, they have found high levels of contamination all over San Onofre. And the reason I bring that up is because this is what I said earlier. The cat is just now coming out of the bag at how grotesque the corporate negligence has been by this American government. The whole
Lonnie,
United States is a fucking dump site. Excuse my language.
Lonnie, us humans, right, us beings in the past, when we were only a few million on this planet, a lot of us were nomads, and if anything happened somewhere, we just move on somewhere else. But now people are so attached to the value of their real estate and their property.
That's right.
They'd rather live in a danger zone and imagine that their property is still worth a lot of money in their heads and put their lives at risk rather than put their hands up and say, hey, I'm leaving this. I'd rather have no money and health. What do you think of that one, guys? It used to be really...
You're right. That's what the people in St. Louis, because I've asked them, why are you guys staying? These people live a mile away from a leaking nuclear waste dump site. Not like in... a mile away, some of them. And they say, well, our homes are, we've just poured everything into this, and this is our house, and this is our home, and we want the government to fix it for us. And I'm like, the government is not going to fix it for you. And they're like, well, they have to. We're going to stay here until they do. Well, in the meantime, their children, not just, this is the immense thing that I can't get over that people are willing to ignore. It's not just their children and themselves. It's 3, 4, 5 generations down the road that are being destroyed.
Lonnie, what did Dana say on your radio show? And you thought it was a bit severe, but in hindsight, we both agreed that it was quite correct. What did he call them? I think he called people in St. Louis morons for staying there, or something similar like that.
Yeah.
It's hard to say and call names to people, but anybody who puts their children's lives at risk, they don't love their children. Thomas, you know that one, Tom. It's one of your mottos. People don't love their children anymore because they put them in danger.
I get into hot water, Billy. I'm not saying that anymore because people stop listening to me because I guess it's too close to the truth when you let things go down the way they're going down. And I'm not talking about, most people can't really see what's happening because we still go to work every day and we go shopping and we do things that seem perfectly normal. But this invisible murder is continuing, and the epidemic of cancer is off the chart in children. How can you have a 5-year-old or a fetus being born with cancer? This is outrageous, and people just accept it and say, well, they don't go for the cause, but what
So Ackermann, let me bring this home to you in my own family. My granddaughter has a very unusual, a very rare kind of a, it's not a disease, I guess it is a disease, but what it is she's been diagnosed, she got this sty underneath her eyeball. It's like a blood sty. It looks like a little blood blister underneath her blood blister. She took her to the homeopath. She's like, oh, I forget the name of this disease, but they said, well, it's a very unusual, it's an autoimmune disease. It's affected by the endocrine system. And when my daughter was telling me this, oh my God, the lights in my head were bling, 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 like I know exactly what it's caused from. We live in Oregon. My granddaughter is 3 years old, born after Fukushima. This is an autoimmune deficiency disease that's affected her endocrine system. And she gets these little rashes that come and go. She gets these little styes. This child, and she's a beautiful, magnificent child. And I look at her and wonder, is she going to be able to make it till she's 18? And when I try to talk to my daughter about it and my son-in-law about it, they are absolutely angered by it. They believe that I shouldn't even be talking about it because what does it matter if we talk about why they got it? Because we can't fix it. And their position is, why focus on it when there is no way to acknowledge it from the government? No one will ever help us figure it out. And so why should they even tell us anything, why do they waste their time worrying about how this child got this when there's nothing they can do about it? And they feel quite like these people that were living up in Walla Walla, Washington. There's no place, their position is there's really no place to go. I mean, they might as well
Lonnie, let me interrupt here because, as you know, both of my parents were killed most likely from the Santa Susana field lab experiments that they kept secret for 30 years, the multiple meltdowns they had in Chatsworth, California.
Uh-huh.
And my parents, my mother died 27 years afterwards. My dad died 29 years afterwards, both from very rare cancers. So just last year, there was a major expose done by the LA Times on the Santa Susana Field Lab that basically revealed that they deliberately released radiation over the entire San Fernando Valley while that was going on. So I decided, this is cause and effect, and now this is discovery date, so I'm going to find an attorney to see if I can go after the situation. And so, as you know, LA is the most sue-happy place in the world. Try to find an attorney who will go against the nuclear. Just try.
You won't get one.
I did.
You did?
They are intimidated as hell. The people that used to deal with it 5 or 10 years ago, their law firms are closed.
So you couldn't find an attorney?
No.
Just like
I'm still on the quest, and I'm pretty good at researching, but it seems to be an area that attorneys aren't really interested in pursuing anymore.
Gone are the Aaron Brockowiches. Aaron Brockowich was the last one.
Her boss died.
And she got rich. She was just a Hollywood hype. She did nothing to stop this.
Her boss was the last guy who was pursuing these cases actively in LA, and he died 3 or 4 years ago.
That's the thing, is these people, the nuclear industry has no regard for life at all. They will kill anybody or kill anything. And in fact, they are killing everything. This is the unconscionable part. I mean, they really, when we talk about what's it take to be a human being, really, honestly, these people have no regard for what it means to be a human being. All they care about is money. You can't have enough money.
Can I draw this to the a priori? I love going to the source. I'm not an information person. I think we all know it's pretty bad. I think all of us would agree, and people listening to this would probably accept the fact, well, the people that have a conscience still will accept the fact that things are not what they appear to be, and we're not in Shangri-La. We're in a tough fight here to make this work over the next 50, 100 years. And what I'm always thinking about is, being a human being now, what do I do? What is it that I do? And like in my personal circumstance, I basically changed all the way I worked. Like I'm a painter, so I make paintings, and I'm not painting flowers anymore. If I ever not that my flowers, actually all my flower paintings sold. I should have continued, but I couldn't sustain my art doing the same thing that worked before. I had to change something in myself, and this is sort of what I'm thinking, that and it's not really a sacrifice. Maybe I expressed myself wrong. It's like a feeling that I want to do something that actually will make a difference. I don't want to complain and say how bad it is. I want to actually try and do something and make the work and do whatever it is that I can do personally to make a difference, to stop these atrocities from being committed, these silent atrocities. We're in a camp, and what do we do what is it that we do to survive? And I just want to say a little story that somebody told me. When I went to art school, I was in Toronto in 1972, and I used to go for lunch at a Hungarian diner, and for $1, I'd get a bowl of soup and all the bread with butter I could eat, and like $1 or $1.25. It was fabulous. And there were a group of people sitting on a table usually. They were there regularly, and they were survivors from the camps in Germany. And he told a story about being in the camps, and the way he survived was that they had meetings amongst each other, reading poetry, and the people that didn't attend their poetry sessions, all of them died, and the ones that attended survived. So I think this is something that we can actually incorporate. That's what I'm thinking about, that there is more to survival than just kicking the shit out of people. There is something we need to do with each other, for each other, that creates the spirit so that we have something to fight with. Because frankly, I don't know, I mean, Lonnie talks to the Congress people, and I write emails to my environment minister, but it comes down to a very personal interaction. I think that's what I think it means to be human in the age of fission. Personal interactions have to improve, like all of us talking now, and hopefully meeting. I'd love to meet people that feel the way I do, like what we're talking about. But
well, the hardest part is really that we really just, we're all around the planet. How easy is that? Like, none of us are jet setters, Ackermann.
yeah.
That would be great if we could do that, but the fact is and this is in fact exactly what the elites count on, is that we're all too poor to be able to commune and accumulate all in one space. I mean, I personally think we need to figure out some type of what they did with the apartheid days, the Blue Mondays, where nobody went to work on Monday or something like that, where we create a worldwide movement where on a regular basis, we just shut commerce down until they start to converse with us.
People need to grow a conscience to do that. That's what's required.
Well, they'd have to be willing to take off. They'd have to be willing to take off their some income from, they'd have to shave their income. This is the issue, is everybody here has their own issues of, they don't want to have, they're willing to speak out, but they don't want their little world to change. They want to still be able to go do what they want to do.
Lonnie,
True, Lonnie, but, sorry.
They've got to accept, they've got to accept they've been lied to as well for millennia, well, for tens of years by their leaders as well. They've got to accept that, and the media and everybody has been, it's been a big smoke and mirrors.
You think people are fooled? You think that they don't really believe it's as bad as it is? Is that what you're saying?
Well, they don't. A lot of people I've come across in the last 2 years, Tom, I've had a hard job convincing them about Fukushima.
Yeah, yeah, right.
A big part of the gaslighting, at least in America, where I live, is that they put everybody in survival mode. Everybody is really concerned about survival. Maybe they're going to get sick and all the money's going to go away. All of this stuff dominates the general public. And we talk about what are humans. Well, what humans have always been is we're storytellers. We call ourselves bloggers or video bloggers or whatever, but the truth is we're storytellers, just like we've had storytellers for thousands of years. And that's what all of us can do. We can develop stories to communicate to people in the shortest and simplest way how foolish all of this is. And we can tell those stories to people.
Yeah, well, hopefully we can tell that to people. I mean, that would be nice if we could tell it to people. That's my anxiety. Is honestly, this is why I really like the tapping, because tapping helps me keep my humanity going, because it is overwhelming. I mean, the tapping helps me cope and not fall into the anger. I mean, part of what happened for me for the first couple of years when I was engaged in this is I was always angry and always super, super angry about it all. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just, we have to move beyond the anger and into action. That's what I think, because yes, it does make us angry, but we really must move into a different place.
Since we're into personal confessions, I have to admit that I've felt always very competitive with my colleagues. I have to say that. I have none of that left anymore since this happened, quite frankly. I don't have that sort of elbow feeling anymore about making my work and trying to find venues to show my work. It's this is not an unusual phenomenon among art, by the way, people. I don't know, everybody sort of, oh, art's like a wonderful place to do business or something. No, it's not. People are very aggressive, and I find that that was a big change I had to actually do in my own life. I don't feel that competitiveness the way it was prohibiting me from doing the work that I needed to do, actually. I don't know if that makes sense, but on the art side, for me, it certainly has made sense, because I want to be a better person. I don't want to contribute to this. I want to be an opposite force to what's going on. What is it that I need to do? And I don't want to be, we're all going to die, and at some point we're going to have to face our, I don't know, they say your life flashes in front of you. I would find that very disturbing to think that I really, screwed up big time. I don't think I want to go there.
Have any of you guys ever had this thought? I've been sort of pondering this quite a bit lately. Like, I've been wondering if the Egyptians, if people that were part of the Egyptian culture that got decimated and destroyed, I wonder if all those people that were there were in sort of the same place we were, because that's a culture we know nothing about, all these disappeared cultures. I wonder how many other previous civilizations have been destroyed by a few elite, and then the masses at the very end, when they realize that it is sort of out of control, gathered together to try to figure it out. You know what I mean? I mean, I find it fascinating that we have billions of people and millions of people on this planet, and just maybe a few 100,000 anti-nukers are people who are willing to admit the entire. I mean, we are in such a. Have you any of you guys actually seen that documentary, the methane time, what's it called, the methane time bomb in the Arctic death spiral on YouTube? Have you guys watched that?
I have.
Have you seen that, Billy or Mhairead?
No, I've not. Don't think I've
Oh,
seen that one.
you guys need to go to YouTube and watch it. This was a video that was made. It was published on YouTube about 3 years ago, I guess, and it was a bunch of scientists from different universities and different places around the world, and they compiled all their information. They're studying the escaping methane, and it really, actually, in that video, the summation of it says that by 2015, the scientists projected that we will no longer have any snow or any ice in the Arctic by the summer of 2015. And when that happens, the methane, it's going to create a loop of heating up the bottom of the oceans, the deep oceans, so deep that we will not be able to stop the escaping methane that's happening. And that's that methane explosion that happened in California, that's the first of a big methane leak. They were talking in this movie what's the number? It's something like 800 gigatons of methane is off of the coast of Russia. Do you remember that number?
Oh, yeah. I remember the big giant methane explosions in Russia they found, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's what all
those craters.
Those sinkholes are all about. Those are methane explosions. The Earth is, the methane has warmed up to the point of no return. And we really are in for a next cycle of weather that we have never seen in history. And we have, I mean, for me, that's my optimism. That's my hope that the planet, you know, because of the harm that we've done to the environment, we've upset the apple cart so badly that we're about to see a whole set of Earth weather that we've never seen before. And so that's my hope for the future.
So you're saying, Lonnie, you want it to be visible. You want things to be visible for people to wake up. Is that more or less what you're saying?
Well, you know, it has to be visible. I mean, I think really people are awake. Like my daughter and her friend, they are awake. They have seen it. But they are just afraid to talk about it. They don't want to talk about it. You know, they just don't want to face it because they feel like there's nothing they can do. There's lots of people who are awake, but what they're saying, well, what can we do? I mean, it's all so pointless. We might as well just live our lives and do the best we can, stay as healthy as we can, because we're not going to stop anything. And for me, when it talks about being a human being, that's where I sort of draw the line. Yeah.
That's selfish behaviour, Lonnie. That is selfish behaviour.
Yes. But that's what the entire culture is talking about.
That's apathetic nature of people. I mean, apathy is an illness truly that is destroying this planet as well. The people say, what can I do, what can we do, live life just now, but there's generations behind us. You know, I like to try and relate things back to simpler times, be it clans in Scotland, be it Native Americans in their nomadic lifestyles. So they always did the best for round about them in nature for the generations coming behind after them, you know. We're doing the opposite now, aren't we? We're destroying it for the future.
Well, it's kind of like it's sort of like we have a whole planet full of unhuman beings right now. We have a whole, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I think that being human, like for me, I think being human means we at least care about our species' fitness, our ability to reproduce, and our ability to sustain ourselves. And none of those, we're in this position now where we can't, even my own daughter last night, I went up to go see my daughter who's sick up in Portland. She's like, Mom, would you get mad at me if I went to Japan? And I'm like, my eyes like, what? She's like, well, someone just offered me a free trip to Japan. I'm like, I said, you know what, Sterling, you're too sick for me to talk to you about
the nuclear industry sent her a ticket.
Well, you know, one of her friends is in Japan, and her friend said, well, we'll just pay for you. She wants to visit her. Just come and visit me just for a week. She's like, well, do you think I would get sick? She goes, just tell me the protocol for the week, Mom. I'll protect myself for the week. I'm like, I mean, after just about less than a minute of conversation, I said, you know, Sterling, you're just way too sick for us to discuss this right now, because I cannot, like, the thought of my own child going to Tokyo, Japan for a week.
Lonnie, just someone eats sushi. Just someone still eats sushi.
Yes, it is. Yes, and she feels like, well, it's pointless anyways because she lives in Portland. I mean, this is what I'm saying, like, my own children know the information. People know the information, but how do we break through this, like, where we care about our lives enough that we're not going to participate in it? Like my friend Louisa Hamachek, that wonderful person, anti-nuker, who posts videos all the time on my YouTube channel. She wants to do a Bob Marley 311 celebration around Hanford and the Columbia Generating Station to get the people up there to know that anti-nukers aren't bad people, so because they're very pro-nuke up there. She wants a Bob Marley festival up there to get people going on the idea that we're all sort of the same one. Well, she wanted me to be in on it. I'm like, hell no. I'm not going to go anywhere near Hanford. You couldn't pay me to go do anything up there. I mean, it is a toxic slough, but even people who are anti-nukers go up there and protest and be around there and be up there. And this is the point here. Like, it is so not taken seriously at a subconscious level. I would say by 99% of the population, even the so-called anti-nuke activists. something, that's what I call that being an unhuman being. You know what I mean? I don't know how to, this is my journey. Like, I still love people, and I believe that, frankly, we're coming into a time where all of a sudden people are going to wake up like frogs in the pot of boiling water going, oh my God, we got to get out of here.
You know, there's, there are three of us. I don't know if Ed says he's, are you a poet? Ed, you write poetry, children's stories, you said? Is that what you do? You write?
No, Ed is a writer.
Where did he go?
No,
Where did he go?
I don't know. I see him dropped off. I see he dropped off.
Oh, dear.
Oh, dear. Yeah.
Okay.
Here, let me see
We
if
lost
I
Ed.
can.
I don't know.
let me
How do I get Ed back? He should have been, that's weird. Okay. Anyway, you know, there's a few of us. Lonnie, you've made some paintings, and I know, Mhairead, you make art, you make paintings. I make paintings, and I'm thinking from where I'm standing, what I remember when I went to art school, that I really looked up to these people that were making art, like sculpture or painting, and I think this is a door we have. This is a door of becoming people that are looked up to for the work that they do, and art is a very good way to entice people, even in a sense of mentoring them. I find myself still affected by the people that taught me, and I look up to them, and I admire and respect what the work they did, and I think this could be a door. This is a doorway to get people to imitate, even, you know. When people love, like the stars, the Hollywood stars, I mean, they all have a romance with the Grim Reaper. That's the problem we have. They entice people to look for the death rather than the life. So making work that encourages people to want to live, I think the art in every human being, to aspire to somebody that inspires us, or to imitate people that inspire us. Well, right, Mhairead, what do you think about, like, why do we make art, right?
Yeah, I think art is hope for me. It's part of that reaching beyond your humanness to that otherness within yourself, and having a dialogue with that is part of what art is about. And I personally find it very difficult to write and make art if I'm in a state of despair. It doesn't work, so I have to get myself into a place, and I might still write a poem that's pretty, you know, difficult to read because it's strong, you know, it's something about whatever, Fukushima. I still have to write a poem about that. When it comes to art, I can't really create anything dark, you know. I'm not like you in terms of, I'm not a painter, and I think the discipline of a painter is very, very different from what I kind of fiddle around with and do. What I try and celebrate is the connectedness of nature and that wonder.
You know, Mhairead, for me, it's kind of the opposite. Like, a lot of my artwork is sort of dark. A lot of my poetry is dark. Like, when I'm in the depths of despair, that's when I turn to art, to be honest, like for myself. And I look at art as like the thread that binds the two fabrics together. The sense of, you know, the anxiety that we're dealing with and the desire to live, to live. So it's kind of like the thread that keeps us sewn together. And that's why everybody has their own little way of coping with it. You know what I mean? So I think art is extremely vital because it is that thread that ties us all together as human beings. But for me, artwork is an expression. When I get to the depths of despair, that's when I create my artwork so that I can express that, move it out, and move on. I can move on once I've created it. So I think everyone has their own reasons. I mean, art is obviously a vital part of humanity and of being a human being. Again, it comes back to that issue of being a human being, because as humans, we have an intrinsic need to create art, I think. It's like singing. When I was in school, I said to my science teacher, because we had to come up with a question, she kind of scoffed at me. She said, well, I don't think there's been any studies on that. And my question was, I believe that singing is a natural part of nature. Like, I think it's very important that I think that all creatures sing to their babies, and that's part of the process of life is the singing and the harmony of it all. And this is what's going on right now, right? Like this idea that people don't love their kids, Ackermann. Children love their kids. They love their children. They just are so overwhelmed with a sense of futility that they choose to just focus on their right now. Like Billy, you said, well, it's a very selfish way of thinking, and I think that's kind of been forced by, in their minds, they see it as a way of necessity. Like, even this guy, Brad Yates, that I brought onto my radio show, the tapping instructor, he's living in Los Angeles. He doesn't ever get actively engaged to stop the nuclear industry. He's out there busy teaching people how to cope. But nobody talks about how toxic it is to go swimming in the ocean, how toxic it is to be surfing on the coast of the West Coast. They just don't discuss it, not because they don't. They all think that they're going to be the lucky ones, that they're not going to be affected. And when they are affected, they're like, well, I knew I shouldn't have done that. They're like teenagers who got caught driving the car. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, this is why social engineering is such an important discussion on giving people courage to stand up to these people. Because I don't know.
But, the reason I brought up the art thing, Lonnie, is like, we don't have mentors. We don't have that feeling of people that inspire us. We're inspired by the necrophiliacs in Hollywood and the stars and everywhere. So where's the real art? This is what I can do as best, to the best of my ability. Whether or not people like my paintings, it's like my reason for making art is, like Mhairead said, there is a sense of hope that I have. There is like a feeling that my contribution will actually attract younger people. And when a lot of the younger people that come to the studio are very excited about what they see. And I think this is something that, because I've been blocked from having my shows in museums in the last 5 years, this has been a problem for me to engender this in younger people. That's what I would like to do. That's what, and I think that's, for what makes me wake up in the morning, this feeling I have that what contribution can I make? That's sort of how I look at it. And each person has their own calling in this way. I don't know what it is for somebody else, but I know what it is for me. So that's what I'm working on, and hopefully, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep going. And, if the methane thing goes, kiss your ass goodbye. That's what I say.
Well, the methane thing is going, Ed. The methane thing is going. It is going. And we are seeing it, like Louisiana was the methane thing. Now we have it we had it in Russia. Now we have it in Los Angeles. My anxiety is that we're going to see a methane thing pop up around the Yellowstone caldera, Oh, wow.
Is Ed coming back?
Maybe.
I think Ed's
Come back, Ed.
Are you calling him?
Are you
Good
calling
morning,
him?
this is Ed.
Yeah, Ed, we dropped you. Did you leave us?
My landlord started using a chainsaw and I couldn't hear anything at all. So he was trimming trees here, so I had to drop out.
Okay, all right. That's okay.
That's what happened. I text Lonnie to tell her, but I'll let her know what was up.
Well, you can. I just call you back just in case I was on my side. I didn't know what was going on. So.
Okay, well, if I go again, it'll be because he's firing up. He's trimming trees on my property, and right now the saw is quiet. So I'm okay.
Oh, okay. All right.
On the subject of methane, I'm just looking at a post and I'm reposting it on Facebook that Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s get involved in the LA incident, and apparently they're saying that there's radioactive material in the gas blowout.
That's what I thought, Mhairead. You know why I said this? I said this a few days ago. Because the symptoms of people having bloody noses is not the symptom of escaping methane. Methane gives you nausea and headaches, but it doesn't make your nose bleed.
So
Well,
where is
whatever
the materials?
it is having a drastic effect on the people in general, because he's and the animals, because he's saying that fish are dying in their fish bowls, their dogs are dying, their cats are getting sick, their children are getting sick. Yeah.
Ed knows a little bit about this. Ed, out there, isn't that near the Santa Susana dump site? Like on that
Actually, yes. The methane leak is only 7 miles from the Santa Susana Field Laboratory site. With the Superfund nuclear contaminated place that they kept secret from the public for 35 years, which, interestingly enough, was the first commercial nuclear reactor with a total failure and had a meltdown. So they learned the very first time that this was a bad idea. They just didn't learn it enough to follow the fact that it was a bad idea. Another interesting thing about the radiation showing up in that leak is, and I think you can verify this for me, they've been fracking in LA, and as Lonnie and I have been telling people for years, one of the things they inject in the fracking fluid is nuclear waste. And they have been doing that since the 60s. Lonnie has seen a newspaper article I have from the 60s showing Halliburton disposing of nuclear waste by sending it down in fracking fluid.
Wow. This is what I mean. This is what I meant earlier when I said we are just now being exposed. We're just now finding out the exposure of the nuclear contamination. I mean, they have grotesquely underplayed it. That's why Ed posted a little meme on his page yesterday that said they're coming out with information that said your kitchen sink causes cancer. As kind of a little joke, because honestly, they're going to blame everything under the sun except nuclear. I mean, honestly, it is unconscionable. I mean, this is why I like this topic. What does it mean to be a human being? We have thousands of scientists that are being bought. Their silence is being bought for money. The complicity, they have completely foregone their humanity completely and allowing the nuclear industry to manipulate and lie about the harm that it's causing. I'm just dumbstruck by this concept.
Our national
Lonnie, can I interject here? I think I told you this a few nights ago. I have a good friend who basically majored in environmental law. And he decided, this is great, I'm going to be able to go work in an anti-nuclear or ecological organization in Washington, D.C. So he went to Washington, D.C. and applied to these different organizations. And what happened is he was approached by the nuclear industry offering to pay him 3 or 4 times what any of these organizations could do because they just wanted to put him on salary and shut him up.
Yes.
Wow.
That's the same story. I mean, the people have been bought all over the world with that same scenario, haven't they, Ed? And it's just the way things have gone. And did your friend's greed, did his greed overrule him when he went for that? Did he take the pay, take the money?
No, he didn't take the pay. He didn't take the pay. He was just astonished at how it works. And these are the people we work with, the ones who decide, no, I'm not going to go that direction.
So was he able to get a job? I'm curious, how hard did he have finding a job after that?
No, he eventually had to leave Washington, D.C. because he didn't really have, he found jobs, but they didn't really pay enough to live in Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's part
So
of
it could have been so easy. It could have been so easy for him to say, "Okay, I'll take that triple, that 3 times pay rise." How many people fall for that one? The greed of man's greed, is destroying this planet as well. People's silence is being bought, and they've been bought to manipulate information and put it out there. These people are evil. It's evil in my eyes.
Yeah. Well, what they're doing is they're getting everybody involved. They're roping everyone in so that nobody has any culpability. Well, you knew about it. Well, it's just such an it's kind of like this whole thing with Barack Obama telling us, don't worry that there's no nuclear problem. And I can guarantee you, if you were to talk to him privately, he probably really believes that it's not that bad. Just like if you talk to any of these people that are out at OSU working on that nuclear power plant. And the family that I met yesterday living up in Walla Walla, Washington saying, well, it's not, we're aware of what's going on in Hanford and, it's not that bad. They've got it under control. They believe that because they have to believe it because they live right there. So this is the challenge that we have to overcome. That's what I see as like our greatest challenges. We have an entire population of people who are just willing to just pretend that they are well-informed and caring because they feel emasculated. They don't feel like they have any power whatsoever to do anything that's effective. So in order for them to live their adult lives, they feel like they need to just, they don't have a right to say anything. It's
Lonnie, what you said there about Obama, right? You said Obama, if you talked to him privately, he'd probably put his hands up and say things are in a mess. Do you think he would say that privately?
Yeah, I think that he believes that nuclear radiation doesn't really harm you that badly. I think he believes that. Because why would he take his own children to Hawaii and go swimming in the ocean if he did not believe in himself? Like, think about it. If he really believed that it was harmful, there's no way he'd be letting his own family be swimming in the
Maybe just
ocean.
got to go through with the whole motion of the thing because he's been told, and he's took the paycheck as well. He's took the paycheck, like Ed's friend has. He's took the Ed's friend never done. Sorry, Ed. But Obama's took the big paycheck to be part of the club. You know, and he's just got to put his kids through that motion now, and his wife through that motion of swimming in that sea because he signed up for it.
Do you think that he would really sacrifice his own family, knowingly sacrifice his own
I
family?
think he sold to the corporations, so he's got
What
to.
I've been saying, people don't love their children. That's what I've been saying.
Well, people do love their children, Ackermann. That's not an accurate statement. What happens is they love their children, but they are operating on a level of they have no concept of what to do. They have no idea, and they feel as if anything they do is going to be pointless. So the best thing they can do is give their children the best life they can, keep them as healthy as possible, as much as possible, and, you know, stay out. Most of them, like my children, they want to stay out of the system. There's no way. My daughter homeschools. They eat, they're vegans, they're organic. I mean, she doesn't even eat wheat. She makes homemade einkorn bread every day.
You see, Lonnie, I think what I just said, people don't love their children. There's going to be some heavy-duty upset for people to change and to accept the fact that they're allowing their children to walk in my town at -20 to school at 7:30 in the morning. An 8-year-old has got a 7-year-old or 6-year-old on their hand walking to school at -20. What I'm saying is that people think it's perfectly normal to accept what they're told is normal, but deep down, everybody knows, and it's going to take some hardcore upset here, Lonnie. I understand when you reject what I just said, but I think it's a fact. The fact that the nuclear cartel has allowed, is allowing, that we as a whole planet is allowing this to happen. We don't love our children. That's what I say. I struggle with this idea myself that I have to, there's some major upset here. There's some major upset. When people realize this, oh my God.
Well, look, they are.
May I interject something here regarding children? Because I study advertising, I study imagery, and I'm fascinated with media, as Lonnie will tell you. I've been that way since I was 8 years old and read The Hidden Persuaders by Beth Packard. And children is one of the main ways the nuclear cartel has brainwashed the public. From the very first ads for nuclear power to an ad that I just saw last night when I was watching a program on Roku, the ending image in 90% of these will be the child and the nightlight. If you are against nuclear power, that little baby doesn't get nightlight. And that image is repeated over and over and over and over till it becomes part of their thinking process.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So there is a part of love of children in this.
Yeah.
They got to have that nightlight, which can be powered with a solar cell.
Right. Surrogate love. It's like a surrogate love feeling. Yeah. It's like you actually love your children because you got the nightlight going. Yeah, right.
Well, no, Ackermann, it's not that. What's happened is the transition. Even those people that are willing to live off the grid, like, this, think about it. The people that are willing to live off the grid make no effort to stop the nuclear cartel or to out their lies or to demand. It's kind of like my interview that I did when Kim called me last Monday and she started saying, well, we need more, or Wendy on Wednesday, we need to have more studies here. And I'm like, no, we don't need more studies. We already know it's horrible. But this is the mindset of people because people want to be, in their heads, they actually really want it to be real. The thing is, it is such the way the manipulation has gone, the brainwashing has gone so deep, even people that know nuclear is bad, know it's out of control, they feel like if they stick their necks out and do anything different, A, it's not going to change anything, that their efforts are completely wasted. This is why my daughter refuses to get engaged. She's told me that directly.
I didn't say it was going to be easy. I said there's going to be some hardcore soul searching going on with parents here. That's what I said.
Well, I mean, I hate to say it, but if my granddaughter gets cancer when she's 18 years old, she's going to cry and tell me I was right. I mean, honestly, I've thought about this.
This is not what we want. This is not what we want. We want to head this one off, and people need to do some deep soul searching. Like I look at, I want to take the kids in and give them hot chocolate, but I guess they'd call me a pervert or something. I don't know. It's like, I feel like it's personally responsible for an 8-year-old walking to school at 7:30 in the morning and minus 20. Come on.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, that's what happens here in this town.
How long? But that's been going on for how long? A long time.
Well, since people had, I guess maybe kids were tougher in the old days. I don't know. Maybe they're trying to toughen them. It's like the idea that, hey, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, I guess. That concept. That's not my concept of love.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah, and I think people need to do some hardcore soul searching on this one. And I know I made enemies on this one, when I say blanketly, like, people don't love children. And I'm not saying specifically parents don't love children, but this is a personal transformation. We need to look at ourselves and, it's like, I'm not going to blame anybody. We can go and call people names and say they're all a bunch of doofuses with the way they're hoodwinked by the industry and all of this, but it's a personal understanding. How do we get there? What does it mean to be human now? How do we get to that personal transformation times 7 billion? That's what I'm thinking.
Well, Thomas, I think people now are so far removed from the fact that we are just animals, right? We are animals on this planet, amongst all the other animals and creatures and bacteria and plants. People don't see that. They think there's some superior, we've got superior knowledge, which we use.
Well, we think we do. We just haven't come to put that knowledge to work, that's all.
I mean, so people forget for millions of years or more, this planet lived in harmony. Us Homo sapiens lived in harmony with, we took what we needed from the land, and we got by, but since they found oil and then nuclear, we were able to keep houses warm and things and keep lights on longer, so the human population grew and all the other creatures just got the bad deal. Is that not right? Because we use these minerals, uranium or oil, to grow our population because we could heat our houses and all other things that go with it. And all the other creatures just got the bad deal. And us selfish humans are just, nobody's thinking about the harmony on the planet anymore, are they? They're just thinking about the next MacDonald's, or the next soap opera, or the next fancy diamond bracelet, or the shiny car. We went too far, folks. We know that, us 5 folks here, What do you think
Well,
about that
look,
one?
Bill, John Kaufman talks about that actually in his book about how, we're sold a bill of goods about this idea that we need to have ever increasing electricity, that we need to use. They came up with an arbitrary number of, the population is growing, so it needs an annual increase of 10% per year. And the reason they did it, he clearly states in his book, they have done this intentionally. It's an intentional thing. They've done this intentionally. They knew it was a lie, but they did it because it really was a science experiment. That's what I think. That's, they've done it for greed, for purposes of greed, for making money, period. It's a totally disrespectful, greedy thing that's happened, and humanity is going to pay the price big time for this neglect that we've done. And
I
he's
just paid
right.
the price.
Well, it is,
We're
and
just paying the price.
our children are paying the price. We are having children getting, my own granddaughter is affected already. I mean, when I say, is she going to be affected? No, she's already affected. And my daughter knows that she's got this autoimmune disease, and still, she will not become an anti-nuke activist or learn to speak out because she feels like, even if she did that, we're too far beyond, we're too far past it, that all we need to do is brace ourselves. We need to work to brace ourselves, to work to brace for the worst that's still yet to come.
Here's one for your daughters, Lonnie, right? Them being female, right? This is one I saw on Facebook the other day there, and it's to do with Monsanto. Possibly the second evilest company in the world, passed by the nuclear industry. Because they've used glyphosates on the GM foods, the GM cotton, the glyphosate has been found in women's sanitary wear, sanitary towels, and whatever else they use. So, and the GM cotton. So there you go, right? Very personal things, items used very close to a woman's body, and they found traces of glyphosate in them. How insane is that?
Well, every single woman in the United States that had her breast milk tested showed positive signs for having flame retardant in it. Every woman that was tested. Every one has flame retardant.
What does that comprise of? What's the chemicals in that one then, Lonnie?
I know, flame retardant. I'll look
It
that
won't be
up.
good. It won't be good.
No,
Well, that's true. It's true, isn't it, of babies that are being born now, sort of post-industrial age. If you take a sample from the placenta, there's dozens of chemicals that wouldn't have been there, in the 1930s, for example. Everybody is exposed to so much more in the way of toxins.
Let's see, this is what it says on the flame retardant. This is what it's. This is from Wikipedia, not the best source, but both reactive and additive flame retardant types can be separated into different classes: aluminum hydroxide, magnesium hydroxide, hunditide, hydromagnesite, and hydrates, red phosphorus, boron, borates. I mean, there's a laundry list of stuff in here. And none of it can be good for the human being. I mean, but this is the thing, they actually believe that, like, honestly, it's like the announcement last week by TEPCO that they're going to use the nuclear dirt, the dirt from around Fukushima to build the buildings for the 2020 elections. I mean, they're saying that they're going to remediate.
The 2020 Olympics.
Yes, yes. They're going to use the dirt from, that's what they're going to do with all those piles of bags. They said that they're going to take the nuclear pollution out of it, except that they know they can't take tritium, so we're going to have to accept the tritium will be in there, but they don't believe it'll harm anybody. And they're going to use that dirt to build the buildings for the 2020 Olympics. Honestly, now, mind you guys, I'm still on this, like, I'm blown away stage with having been in contact with my two daughters for the last 2 days who I just saw. The first one's telling me, yeah, my baby has this autoimmune disease, but no, I don't think it's that important. I don't think there's anything I can do to stop the nuclear industry, so I refuse to do it. And my other one's telling me, just tell me the protocol, Mom, so I can go to Japan. Like, obviously, people have no concept of what we're really talking about. You know what I mean? And
Tom, can I ask Tom something? Like, what Lonnie's saying there about this flame retardant and various chemicals that we can't escape from now because of everything. So, have I not got to go out in my neighbouring field and shear a sheep and get my weaving apparatus out and make my kids' clothes? So, not to be neglecting them now. Give them some real organic fibres to wear. We can't escape coming from this mayhem we're in. Be it nuclear, be it chemicals everywhere. Every corner we turn, there's chemicals everywhere.
Apparently they figured out that if you put fluoride into toothpaste, it makes your teeth good. But it turns out that sodium fluoride is a carcinogen, but it's a byproduct from the coal burning process, I think. And why not?
It was in bombs.
What's that?
They used to put it in bombs.
Look,
really?
we have dentists here
Sodium
in the
fluoride
United
is in
States.
bombs?
No, there was something in the fluoride. I'm not a chemist, but I know that there's a relationship between fluoride and the nuclear power, the nuclear industry and bombs.
Really?
But yeah,
Yeah.
there's nothing in any way healthy about fluoride. Nothing whatsoever.
Well, I will
But
tell you
why
what.
is it in toothpaste? Why? It's a good idea to have it in toothpaste.
Ackermann, it's not just in
Is it water?
toothpaste. We have dentists. I live in a town that is not fluoridated. So dentists in this town prescribe fluoride to the kids. I'm serious. My dentist, and I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, well, you know, fluoride keeps your teeth. I'm like, yeah, but you're going to keep their teeth from getting cavities while you're giving them cancer. Do you even comprehend that? She's like, no, that's not true. We've studied this, and that is absolutely not true. Nobody gets sick from fluoride. This is a dentist that I know personally, and I mean, I was like, and she gave her own kids fluoride. She prescribes it to her patients, and she highly recommends that all of her patients take fluoride if they don't have it.
The most popular water filter in America, Brita water filter, which people buy to make their water cleaner, adds fluoride.
Does it really?
Yes,
I didn't
it
know that.
adds fluoride to the water.
Wow.
Oh my
You
God,
mean in the
Ed.
carbon?
It's everywhere.
Ed, is that in the carbon filters? In the carbon filters?
No.
Yeah, yes, they add fluoride to it.
I didn't know that. Oh God.
I found out on Brita's site and I was shocked because actually I've used them for years.
That's out bloody
And
right.
I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Yes, because it's made to make your teeth healthier.
Oh man.
Right,
Oh,
right.
beautiful. It's a byproduct from the coal burning process, I believe. It's in coal ash or something, fluoride.
But this is the point here. This is the culture that we're living in. Even the most concerned citizens have no recourse. You know, and when you go off that ventured path and say, hey, this is not good, the social pressure of you to conform. I mean, you cannot, I mean, my dentist is my friend. She actually, like, was shocked that I had this attitude. She thought it was unconscionable of me to say you shouldn't be putting fluoride in people's. I mean, we had an argument about it and decided to just leave it alone because she's not changing her position. I mean,
Well,
It's
you're
just
right.
brainwashed.
You've been brainwashed, yes, that's what you say. She's been brainwashed by the big pharmaceutical
Yes.
companies. She's been given information and she gets income from her job and her future income and pension.
Well, she doesn't get income from the, she doesn't get any income from prescribing. She does it out of the, quote, goodness of her heart. She really believes that this is something that is actually
She's
showing.
got this.
Because she can't address it within her conscience. You see, this is the thing. Until people can actually look at themselves and think, fuck, I have been doing this for 10 years. I've probably been poisoning people. I better bloody well stop now, apologise, and start educating people to the truth. But no, people won't do that because they won't come out their comfort zone. They won't admit that they're wrong. You know, it takes, that's the thing. People need to admit that they've fucking got it wrong and take
That's
responsibility.
exactly right.
for their actions.
You know, that's what I said before, was like responsibility looks forward, blame looks backwards. And, you know, like one of the things when I was engaged with Kevin all the time and talking about it, like that's why I always thought I was the perfect person to start the Post-Ignorance Project with him, because I lived right next to San Onofre and never knew it was a nuclear power plant. Now that's embarrassing to admit publicly, but I really believe that it's important for people to admit publicly the errors of their thinking so that we can move on, acknowledge you're not just some stupid dumbass. I consider myself a smart person, but because I had been brainwashed into believing that I wasn't in danger, I honestly never even questioned it. I thought it was a military observatory.
Lonnie, I've sprayed, Lonnie, I have sprayed. I'm a gardener, you know, I'm a self-employed gardener. I have sprayed thousands of litres of Roundup on people's gardens and in their grass, right?
Wow.
There you go, I'm an example as well. For the last 2 years, when I found out more about Roundup and glyphosate, it's probably not helped my health at all. I haven't healed a lot of this shit, right, with no masks or nothing, because we're told it's harmless. You know, for humans, now we're no different. So, here you go, I've wised up. Now I don't spray any chemicals at all. And I tell my customers why. I said, do you realise, don't you do that anymore, Billy? I said, this stuff is killing the planet. You know, and Monsanto are evil, and people don't want to hear that. You just say, oh, get another gardener to do it, then. They don't accept. They just want the weeds killed. They don't care about the world.
So, Billy, has it hurt your business any that you refuse to spray Roundup? No.
For people that want to round up, I don't want to work for them anyway. So,
Yeah.
just find customers.
Billy just pours that black brew he drinks on the weeds. You know, whenever I talk to him, he's got this god-awful dark thing he drinks, and I bet that kills all the weeds, doesn't it, Billy? It's like you don't need the Roundup anymore. You use that beer you drink. I know.
I was trying to stop drinking, Tom, but yesterday, you know, it's my birthday, so I had to have my family bought me some beer. So I had to indulge just to make it look like I was happy, you know, and drink the beer.
You looked actually happy to me, Billy. Don't pretend you weren't. I thought you were happy. Yeah.
I'm always happy drinking beer, Tom.
Talking about the pain that it's going to take to look at this, I just tell you another little story. I had a show at a church. I exhibited my work in a native Aboriginal church, and the minister was telling me that this is across the board. Actually, it was a combination in an Anglican church and in a native. Anyway, he said that you can call the Pope, whoever the leader is, a devil, but and people will just accept it. But if you change the pews around where they usually sit, they'll have a fit. They will totally go bonkers on him. If he changes a few pews around in the church, he can call the, I don't want to be obscene, but people will accept obscenities, but if you change the pews like what they're used to, they will just go bonkers. He said this to me. I thought this was quite telling about his congregation. Religion stops at the pews.
Thomas, right, here's another thing about people, right, and the human beings on this planet right now. And I've come across quite a few of them on Facebook, and as you have, and Ed, and everybody here probably. They call themselves Christians. They go to these churches and they'll sit in their church and listen to a man, usually wearing a kind of dress of sorts, maybe, or some fancy clothing, spout the same old crap, Sunday after Sunday, and they listen to that. These stories, they're stories, aren't they? That's all they are, and some songs. And they just go away thinking, oh, that's lovely. I've asked people on my Facebook site to stand up, walk to their priest. If they know about nuclear, they know about Fukushima, stand up in the back of the congregation, walk up to the priest and say, could I please have 10 minutes word with these people here, and explain to them all about Fukushima and about nuclear and about what it's doing to this planet. But no, they'll back off. Nobody wants to do that, do they? How's that one? I mean, any priest worth his salt would let a fellow human being talk if it was for the good of the planet, would it not?
These are not our mentors, Billy. Like I said, we need true mentors. We need mentors. These are not people. They're just regurgitating everything that we want to hear it. We got to have some true.
I know.
You know?
But that's what I'm saying. A member of the congregation needs to stand up and say, please stand beside it, push him out the way and start talking sense to the followers. People won't do that. They won't stand up. They don't want me out with their comfort zone, you know, and whatever that is.
Well, I think we have an entire population. Anybody, well, let's put it this way, we kind of have a couple of different sets of population. We have an entire population that's disconnected entirely from the internet or too poor, and they really are not aware of the overall grand picture. So that's a set of like sitting duck population, right? So then we have this other set of population that's in the United States that are intentionally parsing out what they choose to look at. And so all of us have chosen, we have made a decision internally that this thing about Fukushima and the catastrophe with the methane time bomb, all this stuff is of catastrophic interest, so that we insist on reconnecting with each other to kind of come up with ideas to get other people engaged. And then there's a set of people who are just accepting the propaganda at one level or another. And so, this is the unique challenge that has been intentionally set out by the technologists who have intentionally manipulated the lies and the facts so that people, it's very confusing. I mean, this is why we have those guys on the YouTubes who can call out activists and call them names and say whatever they want about them, and they can do it with impunity because there's a whole set of conflicting facts about what's real, what's not real, what are the real facts of the pollution, and just like in St. Louis, where none of those people in St. Louis have even been acknowledged by the government as having been harmed, like same thing that's going on with the methane escape in California. None of those people are being acknowledged as having nuclear waste from the Santa Susana explosion. None of them. They're beginning to talk about it, but I guarantee when it boils down to it, that's going to take years for them to go through. And then that's what they count on, is people die in the meantime. We don't live to be 200 years when we're sick full of pollution, I mean,
Lonnie, do you want to hear arrogance? There was an article written by Chris Busby. I think it was the Guardian or the Ecologist, right? It was about Sellafield, which Mhairead and myself know well about. And they did some tests all on the coast, all from Sellafield, all the way up to past for Mhairead's days, right up the coast there. And they found a lot of toxic stuff, nuclear residue and things. But this scientist says, okay, we found it in the shellfish on the shore, but it's okay. Humans don't eat the shellfish, so it doesn't bother us. How arrogant is that, man?
What?
This scientist, this scientist, they acknowledged that this contamination from Sellafield was right up the coast of Scotland, and he said that shellfish are contaminated, but it's okay because humans don't eat the shellfish from the west coast of Scotland. How arrogant is that? I think to say, what about all the other things that eat it, all the other animals in the food chain?
Is that Chris Busby said that?
Well, Chris Busby commented. He wrote an article saying what these scientists had said. No, he never said that. No, he brought us to the fore what these scientists had been saying. I can't remember the name of the scientist. I'll link it to your Facebook site as soon as I get a chance. But these scientists have all been bought and paid for, and people are just falling for their bloody stories.
But this whole story about scientists, of course, Dana Durnford attacked a couple of scientists who keep their mouths shut on all of this. And even Busby has said that the amount of radiation into the Pacific is a drop in the bucket. He actually said this. I did a video on this. I couldn't believe somebody who is so aware of how dangerous this is would actually say the solution is dilution. I mean, Helen Caldecott says that that's totally insane. It's not a matter of dilution. You cannot dilute this stuff. And Busby actually said the ocean has 300 million thousand tons of water or liters of water, and it's not a big deal. He actually said that.
Wow. I didn't realize Busby had said that.
Yeah, Busby said that. I did a video on it, and he commented on my video, and he said, knock yourself out, Ackermann. I accused him of wearing a beret to look like an artist. I think he pretends. I said...
He wears a top hat now.
Oh, does he? I hadn't seen that. Is this?
Occasionally wears a top hat. He
Look like a
likes to wear a
circus
hat.
rider.
Is that for theatrical effect, Mhairead? Is that like a?
I suppose it is. I think it, he's got his own little yacht, and
Yeah. Like,
I think he's a pompous
yes.
whatever. But
Yeah.
there's some things that he's done on Chernobyl. The Chernobyl heart thing is powerful, and that's important.
Yeah.
And it really annoys me that he'll do that great work and then he'll come out with that kind of statement, because if he's a scientist, then he knows the effect that happens within seawater.
He uses his face.
What is that?
The reaction within seawater, but he talked about that to Radchik. I'm sure he talked about somewhere in one of the many interviews I listened to when I was doing research. He talked about coastal areas, to do with nuclear power stations, the coastal areas, the impact in the seawater. It's why this area, for example, we have the power station roughly 20-30 miles away, and we've got a massive incidence of breast cancer here. And it was to do with the exacerbation through seawater, through the carrying, and the impact that the isotopes have within the minerals within the seawater. So it's like this little kind of, I'm pretty sure Dana said something about the Pacific turning into like almost like a battery, which I think is true.
Lucky balls. It's the lucky ball type of thing he's on about.
Well, that's part of it as well, but there's things going on at Fukushima that are unprecedented. They have never, ever, 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 ever happened before in the history of this planet.
And they have no idea how to.
They have no idea. Atmospheric fission being allowed to go on for as long as it's been going on, plus the introduction of them dumping it in water.
When I first got the radio show, I contacted Busby, and he made a comment to me. I called him out on it. I forgot what it was. This was back in September. But he said something like he doesn't want to sound like a lunatic. He doesn't want to sound too fanatical. He makes his statements very understated, because otherwise he will not even get out on any mainstream. No media will have him on. And I'm like, well, our media will have you on, but he didn't answer. That was crickets on that one, because I guess we're not big enough fish in the sea on that one. But I mean, this is the thing. It's all about their it's all political. They are so concerned about their careers that they actually really only care. They don't want. I mean, honestly, even like my conversations with the people in St. Louis, right? There's a guy who's running for a congressman there in St. Louis, who Don Chapman has repeatedly tried to get to connect with me, and he's never called. And I think it's because we're on an alternative media station, and he doesn't want to be considered the lunatic. We've all heard this phrase, the lunatic fringe. I mean, that's what we're being called on a regular basis. I personally don't like being called a lunatic, but if that means that I have to accept the idea that nuclear pollution is okay with everybody, that's, it's like why I stopped calling myself a Christian when George Bush stole the election. If that's Christian, then I'm for sure not whatever that is. I mean, that's outrageous. I mean, this is what we're up against. This is the challenge, and this is, I think what we're getting down to here is this is really what it means to be a human being, to be willing to accept the hard challenge of really,
That's right.
That's
right. The pain that'll
the
come.
pain,
Yes.
the pain of being honest, of stopping
right.
these monsters from killing our planet.
Yes, accepting that pain. It's going to be difficult. This is to change the pews around in the church and accept it. It's like people got to accept the changed pews. The pews have been shuffled. You can't avoid it.
Not just the pews, but we have a responsibility as adults. Since we know about it, we have a responsibility as adults to actually call. This is how Hitler got away with murdering millions and millions of people. And in fact, these people have gotten away with murdering millions and millions of people because everybody's too afraid to call a spade and say, you were murdering human beings. With the nuclear industry, John Bachman wrote book after book. He wrote 2 or 3, the 2 books that I'm reading on my channel. They were popular books. They were bestsellers, and he did that because the governments were ignoring all of his recommendations. He was petrified that we were going to build nuclear electricity plants all over this country, which they summarily did. But then he went after writing all these technical books. He was desperately trying through his writing to get the population to rise up and stand up against him. what he discounted, what he didn't understand is that people are not going to stand up. They have been really summarily co-opted into complicity and to death and to murder. I mean,
It's our job to inspire them, Lonnie. That's what I think.
yes, it is. That's why we're here.
That's why we're
And
here. That's what it means to be human. Inspire each other to do the right thing, to act our conscience.
right.
That's what it means to be human in the age of fission.
That's right. To stand up in the face of it all and to be ridiculed, because frankly, we are
And
ridiculed.
attacked. I've been attacked. You've been attacked. We've been attacked.
From inside and out, the anti-nuclear movement. That's the hard part. It's like, I mean, even the Oregon Physicians for Social Responsibility, that guy Chuck Johnson won't talk to me. Because we're YouTubers. The YouTubers really are considered the lunatic fringe of the anti-nuke movement. It's really unconscionable. We're supposed to accept what Chris Busby says, what those two guys from Woods Hole says is that the ocean isn't that bad. Kevin Camps goes on Tom Hartman and says there is an infinitesimal amount of radiation from Fukushima in the ocean, and Tom Hartman says, "Wow, that's amazing, isn't it?"
Wow.
I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I was like, that's when I started cussing again. I was like, really? No.
Right, people, what about the journalist who went in, allegedly, into Unit 4 in Fukushima
Right.
when it was and he said, they're starting to remove these fuel rods now, look at this place, isn't it lovely?
Right.
And they came out in December, pulled herself and said, Unit 4 was blown to smithereens. Where is that journalist now? Why is he not standing up in the media and saying, I've been hoodwinked? I was in a neighbouring plant, they led me astray. I was in, what's the other one called? Danny. Fukushima Danny. Maybe, I think he was there. And I think either he was hoodwinked, or he was on the game with them, part of the cover-up. Why is he not standing up and saying, hey, I was wrong, or I've been hoodwinked? Where is he? Who is he? I don't know who he is.
Well, Billy, I've read, who did I hear? I heard someone talking about that on a radio show. There was someone being interviewed about why isn't the media standing up to this? This was about a year and a half ago with Schway. I'm sorry, I forget the details. But the guy was saying basically, the nuclear industry, at least in the States, so thoroughly can control the news and the media that even your local stations, if anybody that's on the mainstream media, in our country we have 3 corporations that run all of the news stations and the media stations in our country. And he said, if perchance a reporter did a story on nuclear and actually told the truth, and they told it unequivocally the way it was, that editor of the newspaper would lose his job. Not the reporter loses his job, but the editor who allows that information to come out, not only will they lose their job, but they will never get hired again. So the control, it's fascism.
So we're on about humans here, Lonnie. What it is to be a human. These people, these editors are not humans. They're anti-human. These journalists who tell lies, they're not about my race, they're not part of my clan.
Bunch of chicken shits. That's what they are. Chicken shits.
Well, that's the job of a journalist, is to be willing to take it on the cuff and to be willing to stand up for the information that you find.
Like Hastings or Breitbart even, and people that were out there, like Susan Sontag and even Dan Rather during the Vietnam War. I mean, where are those people,
Well, look what happened to Dan Rather when he outed George Bush. He lost his 28-year career. He was a top news anchor, and his job, if that doesn't show you exactly how much power they have, this was a man beloved by America. And he, within a matter of months, lost his long-term career at the end of his life. I mean, he is now relegated to doing internet news shows. Like really?
Yeah.
That speaks to the ultimate, and frankly, this is the sad part about it, is it's like we are living through the fall of Rome right now. This is how it happens. This is exactly how it happens. Because the people who could change it, who could speak out, choose to keep their trap shut because they want to stay comfortable. And, we have to move into a place where in order, the revolution isn't going to be violent. The revolution is going to be emotional.
We're all standing by watching Nero marry his horse.
Yes. I mean, the emperor really does have no clothes. Let's be clear. There, and we see it, and everybody's like, nobody's willing to talk about it yet. But at a certain point, there will be. We're coming in 2016 is 5 years of Fukushima. We are going to see effects. We have nothing but a nuclear volcano going on over there because they have refused to even attempt to stop it. So at 5 years is when we see the most catastrophic effects really begin to take charge. And so I think 2016 is going to be the year when people are forced, they're out of their comfort zone, not because they want to be, but because they're going to be forced by the medical conditions that are going to be surrounding every single town in this entire planet.
I think I'm not a big person anymore in predictions on anything, but I am 100% on board with the idea, with the thought, with the notion that cancer is going to be the great leveler on this. This is going to be epidemic. It already is, but this is going to grow exponentially. The cancer epidemic is going to grow. And this is, I don't like people predicting. They always predict about whatever is going to happen in the future. I don't listen, but I know cancer is going to be the great leveler. It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
It can't not be, Tom. It can't not be.
Yes.
It can't not be because
it is going on. It's gonna get so much more worse. Everybody's gonna get cancer. And by the way, our local or not local, our national radio carried a story yesterday that people who get cancer are to blame. Yes, they actually said this on radio, that it's people's fault. Have you ever heard this before? Have you heard this?
No, listen. No, that's insane.
Well, in Canada, people should be aware that if you get cancer, it's your fault. And
why? How did they say it was your fault?
It's your fault because they give certain prerequisites on this. Genetic predispositions, I think, is a big part of that. And they actually did mention environmental conditions that you might be exposed to, but they're negligible considering that you have a propensity to get cancer anyway. It has to be because most people are now afflicted with some sort of a cancer, so it's got to be your fault.
It's got to be genetic because...
Yeah, it's got to be. It's never happened before. It's got to be you.
It came out last week in the British media saying that alcohol is now carcinogenic. And it came out in November last year saying red meat and processed meats were carcinogenic. And they are, right?
Yeah, probably.
They're telling us, right? Yeah. They're not telling us the whole story, but they're telling us. And like I said before, they cannot be because of the 17-year reign of the nuclear industry and big ones like Chernobyl, Fukushima, and the other big ones that have happened to turbocharge the mayhem. Everything is, the governments are telling us things are carcinogenic because they are. But it's not because they are normal, just because nuclear is everywhere. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You know what this tells me though, you guys? This tells me that for sure the Nuclear Regulatory Commission is going to approve the hormesis model in the United States.
Yeah.
They are going to do that, and they're going to start telling people that most people get cancer. That's a natural effect of living on the planet.
That's what they're heading. Sorry, Lonnie.
That has to be where they're going with it, and it really speaks to the idea that they have spent 70 years not investing any money or any science in trying to figure out how to resolve the nuclear waste problem. So now, instead of accepting responsibility, they're just going to blame the victims. And that's really where we're headed. So it's going to take a lot of us to get this whole idea of being a real human being. Part of it is rebuilding people's emotions. I just can't. This is so devastating on a cellular level when we think about it.
Well, we're doing that, Lonnie. I mean, we've hooked up. We've gone through this through the internet. I think this is a step toward that. I think this is something, that's how I feel anyway. I met Billy and Mhairead. I met you through internet interaction. So, you know, I think that's a step for people to learn from. You hook up with your clan. You hook up with the people that are on the same, you know.
Yeah, the people who have the courage to face it.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. Is we're having, like, we're the first, you know, they say whenever a new product comes out, it goes out in quarters, right? There's 25% of the people that buy it right away, 25% of the people that get on board. I mean, it comes out in increments. So I think we're among, I consider myself in the second group of the 25% because I was not aware of Fukushima for almost 2 years after the accident happened. So, and I found out about it accidentally, but as soon as I realized it was so out of control, it was the only thing I frankly felt like was the only thing worth talking about.
Because your conscience is still functioning, Lonnie. Your conscience is still functioning. That's why.
Yes, and I love people, and it's not like I'm a doomsayer. I don't think that the planet is totally, I think we need to face the problem before we can understand the gravity of the situation, and at this point, they have done nothing but hide and cover up the, like, we can't begin to address the gravity of the situation until we know where all the nuclear waste actually is.
Let's go on record. We're getting up to, I got on my timer here a couple hours. I think my recorder might shut off at 2 hours.
Okay.
Let's go on record, Lonnie. I declare I love people.
I declare I love people.
Billy.
Likewise, on my hands.
Mhairead.
I'm saying nothing.
Okay.
I don't know what love is, to be honest.
All right, maybe that's another symposium. What the hell is love about anyway?
I'll be out of that one.
Yeah, maybe you should, maybe you have to moderate that.
Be the moderator, yeah, you should be the moderator.
Yeah, Symposium for Life moderator on what the hell is love anyway. Yeah, next one maybe.
Well, if you don't know what love is, how can you say that people don't love their kids? I mean,
I never
we
said
do.
that.
I know you never, but I mean, we do know what, I mean, love is actually, I think that love is
Next
the
show,
only thing
Lonnie,
there is.
I think I'm going to shut down.
Next show.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys. Well, thank you so much, you guys, and thanks, Ackermann, for picking up the ball where I failed to do it on the Blog Talk Radio thing. I just couldn't figure it out.
Don't thank me too early. I hope this my little device worked properly. So last time it had a lot of, you know, I got shit for my little recording device, but let's hope it works.